In a realm teeming with formidable creatures, both beasts and humans inhabit this extraordinary world, where the possession of a rare and potent beast signifies ultimate supremacy. Here, the elemental forces yield to those who master them, for such power holds the potential to either elevate existence or plunge it into chaos. At the pinnacle of this hierarchy stands a singular figure, Suan, whose companion is none other than the mythical moon butterfly Morpho, an entity whispered about only in ancient legends. This extraordinary creature wields the ability to alter the very fabric of spacetime and grants its bearer immortality. Most striking of all are the crescent moons that gleam like stars in Suan's eyes, a testament to the moon god's benevolence. In this landscape, multitudes gaze upon Suan with a blend of reverence and aspiration, hailing him as the Moon King. The black dragon soars above the towering edifices as Suan reclines at a polished desk, fingers poised over a keyboard. An expression of wonder graces his features as he muses over the legendary status he has attained, assisted by his enigmatic appearance. From obscure origins, he has surged to prominence, amassing a legion of devoted followers. Suan playfully jabs a trembling finger at the screen showcasing his image, pondering whether he could indeed be basking in such glory. Yet, bewilderingly, this young man, recently transported from the earthly confines of the 21st century into the realm of beast tamers, is grappling with the remnants of the prior occupants' memories. The previous Moon King met an untimely demise after a calamitous fall, only to find his essence residing in a new vessel. As he adjusts to this transition, Suan's brow furrows with concern upon perusing his status, leading to an explosive outburst directed at the system window. Here, it is revealed that he is merely a fledgling beast tamer, shackled to a low-level flickering butterfly as his companion. An indignant Suan vehemently denounces this misrepresentation, declaring that the Moon King deserves a companion as illustrious as the legendary Morpho. With resignation weighing on him, Suan reflects on the fragmented memories of the Moon King's prior exploits. At 14, the original owner summoned his companion, becoming the top student of the esteemed Moon Beast Taming Academy. By 15, he had donned the title of Moon King, and at 16, he established the Twin Moon Doctrine, earning the adoration of 1 million followers. Yet, as he approached his academic culmination at 17, the chilling Moon Lord declared war, the decisive clash set for 3 years hence. Ensnared in a web of delusions, the previous owner believed fervently in his indomitable strength and his butterfly's evolution into a divine entity when confronted with peril. With a legacy of unwavering optimism, the former Moon King stands beneath radiant beams, proclaiming that fate favors the brave. Even in the face of the formidable cold moon and 8-star beast tamer, he exhibits no trepidation. Suan closes his eyes, marveling at the unfounded self-assurance that once buoyed his predecessor. A gaping chasm yawns between belief and reality, the truth painfully evident in the quantitative assessment of his abilities. Determined to discern the true nature of his companion, Suan's attention shifts to the luminescent butterfly, her resplendent beauty momentarily transfixing him. As she flits near, he reaches out in admiration, yet a somber realization dawns: this creature, though exquisite, may prove utterly ineffective against the looming threat of the cold Moon Lord. Without an ace up his sleeve, such as a metaphorical golden finger, the odds of overcoming such formidable adversaries appear insurmountable. Yet, nestled deep within the recesses of the former owner's recollections lies a whisper of hope, a mystical tome known as the Book of the Moon. Suan gazes upon the artifact, which radiates an enigmatic light, pondering if it might function as an illustrated guide to elevate his status. A flick of his finger reveals the intriguing potential encapsulated within its pages, suggesting that by interacting with the specified low-level beasts, he might unlock transformative powers akin to those found in fantastical games. As he diligently flips through the pages, revelations unfold. The Moon Morpho butterfly, a creature of illustrious fame, remains unillustrated yet is spoken of within the text, an omen of disappointment for the original owner who clung to ideals that denied the truth. In a moment of clarity, Suan resolves to embrace the reality of his circumstance, rallying his spirit as excitement floods through him. His immediate quest is to gain strength with utmost urgency while deftly concealing his true identity. Later, within the elite quarters of the Lunar Beast Tamers Academy, they delicately tenders a blade of grass to a low-level moon rabbit, coaxing it with endearing words. Su Jing observes, arms crossed, admonishing her friend for wasting time on these insignificant creatures. Bei, unfazed, assures her friend of her intentions. She harbors no desire to forge a bond with such lowly entities. As Su Jing's impatient demeanor surfaces, she insists that as an elite, they ought to focus on attracting formidable beasts, not fritter away time on minuscule prey. Standing resolute, Su Jing confidently asserts that the Moon King would never deign to acknowledge such trivial beings, his morpho butterfly far too noble to entertain their mere presence. As the moon rabbit scampers toward Su Jing's feet, surprise etches itself across their faces, particularly on Su Jing as she becomes mesmerized by the crescent moons that shine from Suwon's eyes, an alluring sight capable of enthralling all who gaze upon him. Bitterness angling sharply in his stance, Suwon dismisses the entrancing spectacle before him. No, he muses, he must not engage with these creatures. The Moon King is notorious for his aversion to interaction with beasts. Convinced of his need for privacy, he retreats swiftly. A brief while later, in the moonlight pavilion, Suwon casts his gaze upward, entranced by the shimmering moonlight above. With a satisfying sigh, he acknowledges the extraordinary ambience surrounding him. As he approaches the door framing a celestial vista, a tantalizing idea prods his thoughts. If he could harness the energy from the myriad of low-level beasts present in the pavilion, surely he could facilitate at least one extraction. In a confined chamber alight with flickering orbs, Suwon extends his finger towards one radiant sphere, initiating a mesmerizing disintegration. The system window brightly announces the successful unlocking of a new beast, as the illustrious illustrations within his reference tome multiply, revealing a wealth of low-tier creatures. Intrigued, he marvels at the book's capacity to divulge specific information about these beasts and their unique combat prowess. Clenching his fists in anticipation, he strides among the newfound creatures, a smile breaking forth. This proves the distinct advantage of possessing a golden finger. As he ambles past, a door catches his eye, flanked by a grove of trees. Entering, he finds himself in a luminous room, where a moon huntress with ethereal purple horns reclines serenely on a cushion by the window, illuminated by a shimmering crescent moon. Suwon approaches, struck by the resplendence before him, as he reads the data displayed nearby. Dubbed a Snow White Doe, this mid-level moon beast stands as one of the most exquisite and rare type representatives, exuding tranquility and an affinity for soft, moonlit pastures. In light of their inherent traits, characterized by an extreme selectivity in mate choice, the population of this particular species has dwindled to alarmingly low numbers. Presently, the Moon God Palace stands as the sole bastion for nurturing and propagating purebred snow-white fallow deer. With perspiration beading on his brow, he grappled with the thought of whether deceit might have been the more prudent course. After all, this creature appeared to be merely an unremarkable beast. A man, his visage depicting astonishment, entered the chamber and inquired, "Is it true that a visit to the Moonlight Pavilion incurs no cost? If that's the case, why does the Academy allocate such substantial funds to the upkeep of a single mid-tier creature?" He had never encountered a beast bestowed such reverence. The second man, a smirk playing on his lips, obstructed his face with his hand, musing whether her allure was the catalyst for such lavish treatment. It seemed unfathomable to him that merely reflecting upon her beauty could distract even the most steadfast. Drawing attention was the moon huntress, her mesmerizing purple eyes darting toward them. The grinning man extended his arm, suggestively asserting that perhaps affluent individuals were inclined towards such peculiarities. He refrained from confessing his own potential attraction but implied a semblance of understanding. The bewildered companion observed the water cascading from above, their expressions a mixture of confusion and dread. The moon huntress, cheeks puffed in indignation, glared at them, prompting one of the men to bolt from the room in a frenzied rush, questioning whether she had truly grasped the context of their conversation. The second man, sweat trickling down his brow, hastily retreated as he proclaimed that mid-tier beasts were rumored to possess notable intelligence, suggesting an immediate exit. Swan found himself contemplating the huntress's exquisite beauty and surmised that the interest she provoked was somewhat justifiable. His mind raced, attempting to comprehend the prevalence of mixed races in this world. As the moon huntress observed him with a mixture of curiosity and surprise, she stepped closer, her face inches from his, inhaling his scent. Swan raised a hand, aglow with a resplendent aura, revealing a tome that had manifested before him. With an expression of fury, the huntress distanced herself, her gaze fixed on the book, which illuminated his face with astonishment, the reveal of a newly discovered beast. His mind reeled at the realization that she was, in fact, a top-tier moon huntress. Swan grappled with disbelief as he pondered the sheer annihilative power she wielded, capable of devastating cities and obliterating nations. These apex creatures embody magnificence, capable of commanding legions, their mere presence spells doom for weaker beings. Just the notion of her residing within the academy sent shivers down his spine. He mused that perhaps this formidable being intended to lead a tranquil existence, her nature benign enough for the academy's administrators to trust in her restraint. However, he couldn't dismiss the notion that she might be hiding her true capabilities, much like protagonists in tales who conceal their overwhelming prowess. In stark contrast was Swan's plight, bereft of power or allies, relying solely on his reputation to instill trepidation in others. As he and the Moon Huntress scrutinized the device displaying her information, Swan recognized that she was acutely aware of the discrepancies in her data. Her expression shifted to one of imminent aggression, leaving Swan alarmed. Had he truly lingered so long that his presence threatened to unravel her secret? With calculated poise, he stepped closer, complimenting the beauty of the mid-tier snow-white doe that had captivated him for so long. Yet internally, he felt trepidation, acutely aware that he needed to avoid incurring her wrath. Surveying his surroundings, he resolved to act as if he belonged for a while longer before making his escape. As he darted from the room, the Moon Huntress gazed at the door in bemusement, puzzling over the identity of the man with crescent-shaped eyes. Meanwhile, she retrieved her phone from beneath a blanket, searching for details on this intriguing individual. To her astonishment, it was indeed him. In the dormitory corridor, Swan reflected on the danger he had narrowly avoided. The notion of keeping a Moon Huntress in such proximity felt absurd, akin to housing a treacherous predator in a sanctuary. Each thought settled heavily on his chest as he acknowledged the precariousness of his situation. Should they cross paths in a more isolated setting, he would surely meet his demise. With newfound conviction, marked by a confident grin, Swan realized he could uncover the abilities of each beast he encountered thanks to the awakening of his power. He stretched his hands wide, laughing heartily, confident that he could unravel all her mysteries. Ambitiously, he sought smaller beasts to augment his knowledge, spotting a moon rabbit near the fountain. He marveled at the creature, recognizing it from earlier. Kneeling before it, he noted the curious absence of aggression. Normally, under lunar illumination, moon-type creatures would experience harrowing transformations, growing fierce and volatile. Yet, this particular rabbit remained placid. As he marveled at the moon rabbit's unusual demeanor, doubt clouded his mind. Could it be concealing its true ferocity? Rising from his crouched position, his heart raced. This moon rabbit might indeed be more formidable than it first appeared, potentially overshadowing lesser beasts. Swan tentatively extended a trembling hand, humming a soft melody, tempted to unmask its true nature with the insights offered by his moon book. Kneeling anew, he brushed the moon rabbit's head, an ethereal glow emerging from the pages of the book, revealing that it was indeed a guardian of waning moon energy, a genetic anomaly that curbed its strength under the night sky. Disappointment washed over him as he faced the book, realizing that its limitations rendered it weaker than low-tier creatures. Sighing, he lamented his misfortunate fate, speculating whether fortune had conspired against him. Meanwhile, Aya, concealed behind a nearby structure, dropped her phone as she caught sight of the Moon King tending to the humble creature. Could she have inadvertently unveiled a secret about him that few others knew? Eventually, emerging into the dorm room, Aya approached Swan, mask obscuring her face, inquiring with amusement whether he was finally in attendance. As she jokingly suggested that perhaps the Moon King held a fondness for smaller creatures, Swan gazed at her in disbelief, questioning her sanity. With a chuckle, she dismissed the notion as mere jest while stepping into her personal quarters, privately pondering the peculiar complexity of the Moon King's character. As the moonlit canvas of the night enveloped the landscape, Swan grasped the door handle, reflecting on how someone had witnessed his departure from the meticulously crafted image. However, upon deeper contemplation, he considered the unexpected charm of the contrast he had unveiled, a twist likely to resonate with readers enamored by tales of brooding bad boys. Amidst an unrelenting day of tribulation, his singular desire now coalesces around one notion: to plunge into the comforts of slumber. As he peers forward, an unsettling sensation burgeons within the shadows of the dimly lit chamber. A humanoid beast looms, its form exuding an unsettling presence, fists clenched, casting a gaze filled with bewildered intrigue upon Swan. A peculiar sense of foreboding envelopes him. A physique so formidable cannot merely belong to a human, can it? Unquestionably, this creature emanates an aura surpassing even that of the notorious Moon Hunter. The humanoid beast strides confidently towards him, but fear roots him to the spot, paralysis gripping his expression. The weight of its presence crushes his reality, its oppressive force eclipses all conceivable limits. With a sudden bow, the beast acknowledges Swan as the Moon King and Moon Sovereign, words dripping with gravity. He regards her with an air of calm comprehension, recognizing an echo from the memories of his predecessor. She is one of the mythical beings speaking of the 4 phases within the Twin Moon teachings. Yet, which one could she possibly be? They stand in silence, 2 figures bound by destinies intertwined yet marked by an ocean of uncertainty. The humanoid beast, its own face bedecked in sweat, can scarcely contain its absurd realization. Here before it stands the Moon King, an unparalleled beast tamer, a veritable legend. Even in stillness, he exudes an unmatched majesty and divine grace. Swan, perplexed, grapples with a lack of recollection. With a cough muffled by his fist, he inquires into the matter at hand. With confidence, she raises her countenance, delivering vital news of an unsettling uptick in the remnants of the Black Moon sex activities in Central Territories, a collaboration woven with the beast tamers of the Moon God Palace looming ominously on the horizon. Bewildered, Swan is left wondering, what exactly is this moon sect, and why does it elude his memory? The beast, observing his stupefaction, questions his bewilderment and receives a directive to maintain silence, her mouth sealed against the urgency of the moment. He believes the tide of clarity may yet wash over him. In the pursuit of knowledge, the mythos of the Black Moon sect materializes, a once renowned faction in the depths of the northern expanse, worshipping the ethereal Black Moon Death Palace, a domain said to harbor a power potent enough to cloak the moon in darkness for several days. 3 years ago, a climactic confrontation erupted between the maligned Black Moon sect and the burgeoning Twin Moon teachings, culminating in their utter annihilation beneath the glow of a singular full moon. As Swan marveled at the revelation offered by his device, a smile crept upon his face. The fog of confusion was lifting. It dawned upon him that this fledgling sect, so inconsequential that the original owner of his form scarcely acknowledged it, indeed held no sway. The kneeling beast concurs, emphasizing that the Black Moon sect was scarcely worthy of concern, yet the specter of the Moon God Palace complicates the narrative, suggesting there lies greater peril at hand. Swan, wrestling with thoughts of the Moon God Palace, becomes increasingly aware of its stature, an entity of true dominion in the fabric of the central continent. They once rallied their strength with legendary beasts, wielding power for millennia. Though centuries have dulled their influence, their mere presence is one that commands respect. Impressively, in the span of just 3 revolutions of the moon, the Twin Moon teachings have remarkably unsettled the Moon God Palace's authority. The humanoid beast, now emboldened, informs Swan that the 4 lunar phases seek to unite, inspiring confidence that even an open conflict with the Moon God Palace might yield favorable results. Yet, the predicament emerges. Should this transpire, he would find himself without guardians, an alarming notion for one of such standing. With the weight of such realizations, Swan sinks into a chair, contemplating the myriad challenges that have converged upon him scarcely a day into his reincarnation. And though he wears the mantle of the Moon King, these tribulations press down, heavy with implication. A mere mortal would wither in the face of the Moon God Palace, but the very nature of the moon butterfly morpho demands attention. Yet, he cannot linger in despair. Swan recalls tales of the Moon Book, a relic that rewards its adherents for achievement. During his pilgrimage to the Moonlight Pavilion, he had engaged with various beasts. A reservoir of opportunity for extraction should have materialized. His resolve strengthens as the system window alerts him of a potential exchange, igniting a spark of hope within. Ultimately, he enunciates a proclamation. A powerful beast awaits, eager to be drawn forth from the recesses of possibility. As he touches the system window, a brilliant yellow luminescence emanates, enveloping him, and the book's pages flutter in a fervent dance, halting on a faithful illustration. The window confirms the unveiling of a new beast, a high-level translucent shadow, endowed with moonscale and darkening abilities. Such skill sets are poised to guarantee a transformative alliance, albeit their rarity might render them insufficient for Swan's lofty dreams. With resolute fervor, he reaches out to touch the shadow, aware that while a mere high-level beast might elicit cheers among his fellow tamers, as the Moon King, it does nothing to quell the tempest within his stormy existence. With anticipation barely contained, he registers the book's resplendent azure, heralding the beast's vanishing act. Compensation arrives in the form of tamer strength points, a fair exchange in Swan's eyes. Newly invigorated, he revels in the newfound potential of becoming a 2-star tamer, a status reflecting his ascent. Yet, dwarfed by memories of myriad chances missed, Swan finds himself ensnared by the haunting echoes of a past littered with neglected opportunities. High-level beast contracts beckoned once, but his association with the famed moon butterfly Morpho fostered complacency, blinding him to the very treasures that could now alter his current plight. There he sits, ensconced in a shroud of contemplation, pondering how a high-level beast could be anything more than a fleeting solution to the intricate problems at play. The turmoil that has surfaced is inescapable. Regardless of his assertions, it far eclipses the feeble flutter of a butterfly, devoid of any combat prowess. Should he ever find himself ensnared in an unfortunate predicament, however, some semblance of utility may arise. Reclining on his bed, arms flung outward, he sighs, contemplating the possibilities that tomorrow may bring. If he succeeds in summoning a formidable beast, he knows he must forge a contract with it. A return trip to the Moonlight Pavilion is imperative, to amass further experience, as many beasts have yet to grace the pages of the compendium detailing lunar creatures. He cannot ignore the tantalizing prospect of encountering that enigmatic snow-white doe, or rather, the moon huntress. How delightful it might be to ensnare her favor with a delectable morsel. Eyes closing, he is soon enveloped in slumber. Awakening at dawn, the moon huntress bolts upright, horror etched across her visage as confusion reigns. What in the name of the cosmos has transpired? Rising to her feet, she surveys her surroundings, baffled by the desolation of her storage. Has she been evicted? A worker, glancing her way, inquires if she is fully awake. With fur being preened, the moon huntress is reminded to bide her time until she arrives at the moon god's domain. There, a life far more opulent awaits her. The worker, a grin gracing her features, wipes away an errant tear, announcing that messengers from the moon god's palace shall soon arrive to escort her. Compliance with these new custodians is crucial. Capriciousness should be avoided at all costs. A perplexed expression crosses the moon huntress's face as she processes the implication of these statements. Sold to the moon god palace? Simultaneously, onlookers scrutinize the two tamers, their voices raised in fervor as they proclaim their allegiance to the moon god palace, an exceedingly powerful faction of the central continent. What could have summoned them to this realm? The red-haired tamer balls her fist, her gaze darting sideways, recounting tales of the Moon King sharpening his skills in this locale. Wonder fills her as she reflects on what kind of promised land this truly is. All that meets her eyes are a motley crew of oddities, leaving her uncertain whether to chuckle or lament. Meanwhile, the blue-haired tamer cautions against inciting conflict, asserting their singular mission, to procure the snow-white doe. Avoiding trouble is paramount, particularly with the Moon King and his teachings of the twin moons in play. The red-haired tamer, pressing forward, spins to address her companion, articulating their mutual understanding. Acquiring the snow-white doe is the crux of their endeavor. With a triumphant smile, Xingyi declares herself the head of the Moonlight Pavilion, welcoming the envoys from afar, her hands placed over her heart as she speaks. They respond with reverence, proclaiming that the night is eternal, and thus, the moon shall not fall. Xingyi, a smirk betraying her thoughts, perceives their audacity, lamenting that it is a shame to burst their bubble. An era of the moon god's supremacy appears to be fading. Turning to face the envoys, she insists on expediting their business, expressing her desire to present the white doe without delay. Yet, the tamers interject, asserting they have already perused images of the doe online. With meticulous adjustment of her glasses, Xingyi reminds them that this creature's lineage stems from the very beasts owned by the founders of their esteemed academy, affording it a life of unparalleled luxury. Yet, skepticism arises as a tamer questions the matter. Did she truly dare to compare this mid-level creature to a high-ranking beast? Hilarious as it may be, the audacity to declare such grandeur for a creature few in her region have even glimpsed poses a conundrum. As repartee escalates, the red-haired tamer commands silence from her counterpart, creating an atmosphere rife with tension. The blue-haired tamer, ever mindful of their budget, boldly proclaims a willingness to double the initial offer, 20 times the sum previously stated. Surprise and disbelief ripple through the group. Xingyi contemplates her sister's words amid the whirlwind of emotions. A crescendo of alarm builds within her, driven by a nagging fear that something disastrous lurks nearby. The high-level beast accompanying them, Moon Voice, senses an impending threat, prompting her to flee alongside her compatriots, regardless of price. The atmosphere thickens with palpable dread, each bead of sweat a testament to the rising pressure. Something ominous approaches, and it is none other than the Moon King himself. As he strides forward, people part, fear rippling through the masses. The blue-haired tamer's heart races with trepidation, pondering the motives of the Moon King's unexpected presence. The red-haired tamer stands frozen, overwhelmed by the gravity of the situation. With urgent mental entreaties, the blue-haired tamer urges her sister to bow her head, urging compliance with the dread force that looms before them. She clutches her trembling companion, cheeks flushed with the heat of anxiety. Trembling and speechless, the red-haired tamer questions whether she truly locked eyes with the Moon King, horror painting their features as they gaze upon him. Suan, surveying them with an air of authority, forces their resolve to crumble. Compelled by an overwhelming aura, the tamers yield and kneel. In their minds, they wrestle with the notion that this cold authority embodies a malignant spirit, perceiving everything in its path as mere dust. The realization hits hard, genuine divine essence radiates from him. Curious interest flickers within Suong as he contemplates the involvement of Moon God Palace representatives and their objectives. As the blue-haired tamer wrestles with her thoughts, she is left wondering at the Moon King's piercing stare. Was he enraged? Or did he ponder their obsolescence? Struggling to maintain composure, Suong requests assistance, seeking someone to engage him, for he has reached his limit. Xinghe approaches, a semblance of composure upon her features. She raises her hand, exuding cheerfulness as she addresses the Moon King, expressing the honor that it is to behold him face to face. Proudly, she indicates the symbol on her palm, announcing her allegiance to the teachings of the twin moons for 3 months. Suan observes her approach, noting the initiative. While he initially appreciates her forwardness, the looming sense of urgency remains. The Tamer Club seeks the snow-white doe, renowned for its extraordinary condition, and their price reflects its worth. Suan is gripped by disbelief. Still, he cannot permit such a transaction involving a creature of unparalleled caliber. Glancing back at the retreating assembly, Suan's voice rings with finality. Return, you shouldn't have graced this threshold. The moon shall soon descend. Xinghe, taken aback, contemplates his chilling pronouncement. Is it possible on a day so bright? How could the moon contemplate such a fall? In the realm of the extraordinary, a statement that might otherwise be dismissed as sheer nonsense emerges from none other than the Moon King himself, a figure unparalleled in strength across the globe. A blue-haired tamer, perspiration glistening on her brow, contemplates that the underlying implication of the Moon King's proclamation could foreshadow a catastrophic fate descending upon the Moon God Palace. Kneeling with urgency, a red-haired tamer places her hand over her heart, voicing her solemn belief that the moon shall not plummet, for the dominion of night prevails. Yet, a shadow of dread crosses her face as she grapples with her words, her voice quavering with trepidation. A youthful scholar from the academy, eyes wide with confusion, challenges her audacity to oppose the Moon King. The red-haired tamer, panic flaring within her, faces the menacing gaze of Swan, trembling visibly. In surrender to fear, the red-haired tamer collapses to her knees before Swan, who strides forward with an intimidating presence. The blue-haired tamer instinctively cradles her fallen companion, her heart racing at the dismal reality that the situation has spiraled beyond their grasp. Rallying herself, she rises, her sister's hand clasped within hers, propelling herself onward with a determined focus. The priority now to relay the Moon King's ominous words to the 10 pillars, for she senses disaster looming.